Dr. Dhall, can you tell us about human values education? What are the 5 human values?
You know, the word human values is very loosely used by many people. Human rights are human values. Human values are also spoken of by Dalai Lama. But when we talk about human values education in the Satyasai organization, we talk about human values as enunciated by Satyasai Baba, which are the 5 human values of love, peace, truth, right conduct, and non-violence. But he says that there are many values. You know, discipline is a value, modesty is a value. There are many values. There are about 70, 80 values. But they can be categorized into 5 interrelated values, which he calls human values. So human values cover the entire gamut of positive values, if you like. But they are categorized under 5 broad headings of love, peace, truth, right conduct, and non-violence.
Why are human values important in education?
Well, we've got education that was developed about 2 centuries ago in the industrializing England. And the values then were really designed, the education then was designed to create a stratified society of industrial workers, people who are skilled and people who are non-skilled, and managers. Now that model of education is totally and utterly outdated. We need education that develops all the children holistically. That means that they are developed in all their 5 personality domains. Currently, the model of education that is used worldwide is defective in very, very many ways. But one of the main ways is that it does not focus on proper development of our children who form the next generation of leaders and workers and so, yes.
Are human values universal?
Yes. We have an intrinsic source of human values. This has been confirmed both by science and also by religions. But somehow in the popular mind, human values seem to be only as if their origin is only in religion and spirituality. That's not the fact. The fact is science supports the idea that human values are inherent. For example, Professor of Psychology Steven Pinker, he has shown that there are 5 important values. He's given different names. He calls not harming others, which is non-violence. He calls being fair, which is right conduct, which is being loyal to a group, which is love, respect for legitimate authority, which is peace, and exalting, which is exalting sacred truth. So basically, psychology supports spirituality in the sense that we believe human values have intrinsic source of values. Okay, if from a spiritual point of view, we say it's the divine consciousness that permeates everything, is part of human nature. So human beings are gifted with this, that they can actually make relationship with those human values, whereas other life forms are not so gifted. And this is because even at a biological level, we have got a tremendously grown forebrain, which is the seat of intelligence, of memory, and of planning, and which is called executive function, as well as morality. So from a biological point of view, from a spiritual point of view, from a psychological point of view, human values are intrinsic to human beings.
How does education elicit the human values from the child?
Right. What Sai Baba has said is the model of education, he calls it educare. Educare means drawing out from within. For example, when we are faced with a dilemma as an adult, how do we come to a proper conclusion? We reflect, we contemplate, we look at the situation, and we draw out the solution from within ourselves. Isn't that right? So in the same way, if we are going to induct children into that mode of thinking, where they can draw from within themselves the solution to their problems, then we have to induct them in a way that they are introduced to their own intrinsic nature of human values. And so the education of human values is really a part and parcel of being brought up as a human being. Human values are human values because these are the values by which we guide our moral conduct, our everyday behavior. Our society is based on that. Our justice system is based on that.
Tell me how the practice of human values builds the character bank within a child.
Yes. Okay, I think there's a methodology of human values. In the methodology of human values, initially, the emphasis was on 5 teaching techniques. Those teaching techniques are not new. They have been used for generations. Teaching technique of storytelling, of group activity, of silent sitting and reflection. Such techniques have been used for a long time. Modern education also has introduced other techniques, such as visualization. Now, creative visualization has been an old technique used in meditation for centuries to make our relationship with the divine or divine form. We use our spiritual imagination. In the same way, we have to induct the children into recognizing what values are. Our common language, everyday language, does not include values, unfortunately. We have lost that. Our ordinary language is made up of vocabulary derived from television, from everyday discourse. And this has been one of the things that, because we are a very material culture and we are time poor, parents are time poor, educational system is time poor, we have failed to induct children into a knowledge of their own inner being. And human values are within, and so there is a methodology of drawing that out. For example, there are 2 main techniques. One is inductive, and the other one is integrated into activities. So there is the inductive technique is where lessons are given on values. Now let me tell you this, when we first started working with the school systems and introduced values, the teachers themselves said, oh, we don't know the difference between friendliness and helpfulness, between compassion and kindness, between caring and love. These are words which carry very specific meaning. And because in our everyday discourse we are not critical enough to see the difference between these various values, we have lost touch with the finer aspects of these values. So human values education, which is the direct method of induction of the children, is to give them values lessons based on each value, having given the definition of the value. Now we introduce the technique of mind map or concept map. Concept map of value where the child knows what is it, what does it do for me, what does it do for others, why is it important, what is the negative aspect of this, and how do I distinguish between different values. So in that sense, they become very sophisticated in understanding values and also through group activity, other activities, introducing the values into the everyday life. So the education in human values is not simply information. A lot of our education is merely information. But this is, if I use the Sanskrit word, not just jnana, not just knowledge, but vijnana, the practice of that knowledge in daily life. So values are values only if they are actually practiced. Otherwise they remain in the realm of nebulous, in the realm of understanding, but not the practice. So human values education means that we induct the children not only into understanding the values, but also on how to practice that value. Now the context at the home is different from the school, is different in the street, in the on the football field. So they have to understand that each value, like kindness, can have different meanings according to the context, whether it is at home or in school or with friends or with parents or with, on a sports field or in the shops. So I think that education in human values is a very amazing discipline to integrate into normal education so that the child develops holistically. When I say holistic development, I mean in all 5 personality domains. What are the personality domains? Physical domain, intellectual domain, emotional domain, social domain, and spiritual domain. So they develop in all these areas so that they have not only a very sharp understanding of how to reason, but also a soft and tender heart so that they can put values into practice.
Thank you. So what you're saying is when a child practices human values, the internalisation and the living with the human values gets multiplied and embedded within the child. Thus they become people of integrity, people of good character. Tell me, what has been the impact of human values education
on the
in
children?
schools?
On the children, okay. First of all, I will say that we don't embed the values, we draw them out. They're already there. It's a matter of refining them for their understanding because they are drawing it from within. And one of the main ideas behind human values education is that they have a living model that teachers have to practice the values. We cannot have education in human values without a model, a living exponent who actually practices those values. So it's an incomplete model. There are many models of introducing values into education, but none of those models, other than Satya Sai Education in Human Values, says that you have to be an exemplar of what you're teaching. That means you have to practice kindness if you can, if you're going to ask the child to practice kindness. You have to be compassionate if you're going to ask the child to be compassionate. You're going to be disciplined if you're going to ask the child to be disciplined. So that it is actually a model based on adult model. That is how the child will grow up. Now what is the impact of that? The impact of education human values in terms of schoolwork. Our example, when we worked with the all-Aboriginal school in Cherbourg, children who were indisciplined became disciplined. They became regular in their attendance, they became attentive, they became neat, they presented themselves, they became alert, responsive, and therefore educationally much quicker to learn. Silent sitting or meditation, if you like, made them so that they were not preoccupied with very many other things, but they were focused on their studies, so their learning was faster. And therefore their achievement level was better. Within 2 years, these children who were from a really backward school were able to compete with children from the local white community and come at par or even beat them. So it's a very impactful model of education. And it has a very powerful effect on children because they become kind, disciplined, focused on their learning, neat, attentive. Also, they are able to solve their own problems. There are less fights in the school ground is clean, the classroom is disciplined, and the atmosphere in the whole school becomes very serene, what it should be for a learning environment.
Can you share with us what the impact of human values education is in the family?
And they are able to modulate the temperament at home. For example, if they learn to be kind, they expect the parents to be kind. If they are compassionate, they expect the parent to be compassionate. If they are disciplined, they expect the parents to be disciplined. So by this way, the children have been, in some cases, the drivers of transformation in the family. In other cases, the parents see the impact on the child and they want to know more about how to become so disciplined themselves so that they are motivated. In many schools where there is education human values for children, there are also classes for the parents. And we have a whole program on education human values for parents.
What has been the impact of human values education in the school, in the family, in the community?
The impact of human values education in school is most apparent when there's a whole school approach. not just a single classroom that is practicing human values or a single teacher that is practicing human values. When there is a whole school approach, then all the teachers have regular meetings. They, by nature, people who become teachers, they want to really experience the joy of teaching. And currently in the school system, the teachers are preoccupied with discipline problems and with distracted children. Whereas when there is human values education in the school, and when all the teachers are also on board and they're practicing human values, then the entire atmosphere in the school is one of peace, learning, quiet performance, achievement, focus, and diligence. So academic diligence becomes the driver of change for the children, and the teachers feel the professional satisfaction of being really what it means to be a teacher. What is a teacher who is teaching with the heart. So it's not teaching from the head, it is teaching from the heart. And it is a genuine concern of really well-being for the children and also their own well-being. They have less, less
stress, workplace stress.
Workplace stress, and for in most schools, the children, the teachers, after 2 years, after training 2 years, within 2 years, 50% of the teachers leave the teaching profession because of the stress and burnout. So, in a school where there is this whole school practice, my God, the atmosphere is beautiful, and the teachers love to come to the school. So that's the impact on the school. The impact on the community, well, I've said the impact on the home. The impact on the community, when the children go to shops, when the children make a public performance, the parents and their friends and associates, they're able to see how disciplined and how beautifully behaved the children are. They are respectful, they are not loud, they are cultivated, they are kind, they are properly integrated people as specimen of children, where it's an amazing transformation in the community that happens. In countries where there has been initial suspicion, in Kenya, for example, where the system was strictly Christian, and they thought that this education human values could be a hidden agenda for changing of their religion. In Muslim countries, with the same suspicion. In Catholic countries, the same suspicion. But their fears have been allayed. In these countries, they are found, in Indonesia, for example, the school there has made a tremendous impact on the universities, on the educational system as a whole, so that the educational system is now wanting to have human values education. So the community and the educational system as a whole has been affected in many countries.
Can you tell us a little bit about the founder of human values education?
Yes, basically the driver of this has been Sri Sathya Sai Baba, who was a spiritual master. Some regard him as divine descent, an avatar. And he was the one who initially raised the question of human values. He founded a university and started many schools in India initially. And also he had an informal program, which was initially called Bal Vihar program, became Bal Vikas program, which is the Sai spiritual education of the children of the devotees. And later on, the Satya Sai education, human values for children of the non-devotees. So there is a tremendous movement within the Sai organization as a whole, both for schools and for the community children to learn about human values, not learn about human values, but to draw out human values and become human values exponents. So he was the original
So educare then leads to true humanness.
Yes, well, what is humanness? Humanness is the practice of human values. We have certain goals in our life, and one of the goal is to find peace within, to have a greater connection with the divine consciousness, and human values promote that.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay.